Alright, guys, so we're back yet again, and we're going to be talking about the Resident Evil fan film by Renaissance of Evil, Resurrection, a Biohazard story. So, this was very interesting, and before I even review this, I just want to give a big shout out to that channel for Residents of Evil because, again, one of the OGs from what I've seen for Resident Evil. I've been following them for a long time, so shout out to you guys. And being able to bring most of the original voice cast from this, from like Chris, Barry, Jill, Wesker, and even getting the actress who played Sheva in the Resident Evil 5. So it was really cool seeing this because, again, it was about an hour, almost an hour and a half long. It was kind of where Chris is still doing his own thing. It looks like this was way after the events of 8 and maybe even before 9. So that was kind of cool to see that where Rebecca even shows up. So we got, I'm assuming it was the original voice actress for Rebecca back when, which I'm assuming, where she is somewhere in Mexico and they are going over test for another bioweapon, and it turns out from something similar to the Ouroboros that we saw in Resident Evil 5. And of course, Wesker's behind it. He survived, and Sheva comes to to find Chris and let him know that, hey, Wesker's still alive, and I got hurt because of the BSI was and I'm assuming for all this they had to probably move some stuff around, but that the organization's messed up. They did bring up the events in 8, saying that, of course, bioweapons were being used by them. That's the reason why Chris went solo, that he became, leading his own Black Ops team. And then they go to Mexico, they start taking out different bioweapons, and they do run into Wesker at some point. We see Jill and Barry, which was really cool to see Barry again. It's been a very long time since we got him up, and Jill going through a lot of PTSD because of what happened to her in Resident Evil 5, which again, we saw that in Death Island, but this kind of went into a little bit more of, her being Wesker's pawn, his toy, his subordinate pretty much, and her trying to deal with that, and she evidently did get her revenge in a certain way. But I will say, throughout the movie or the fan film, I will say this: they did very well with being able to mix not only the horror, the action, the drama, and also the puzzles as well into this fan film. That not the original, not the other films has really done, or even the animated films. I think the animated films, they do focus more on the action and the science and all that kind of stuff. But again, it was kind of good just to put everything in a bow, I guess, for people that do enjoy different parts of Resident Evil, whether it's the science or the horror or the action or the puzzles, whatever have you. And again, I'm just gonna say this: you could definitely see this was a somewhat of a low budget, fan film. And again, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. I am not downing that. Sometimes low budget, fan films are the best thing, better than what we get in Hollywood. Was the fights always that good? Not really. I'll be the first one to admit that with the, fighting, with the choreographing and all that. Because again, it just felt like that I don't know, like Wesker wasn't really Wesker. And it was kind of silly, especially at the end where they just left Wesker alive and Rebecca came up with an anti-vaccine to control Wesker's powers. That way he become more human than a monster. And then what was really funny is, of course, in one Jeremy, that he just, goes in that, behind Residence of Evil, he just acts like Wesker's subordinate. It's like, you don't pay me enough for this crap. So that was pretty funny at the end. I will admit that. That was pretty funny. Will I say this is horrible? No, I will not. Was it the best thing? No, but I think it's better than any type of other Resident Evil fan film that we've gotten, because I personally enjoyed it. I liked the story that they were getting. Um, if this had, I would say, more money, I could definitely see this being a film. I really could, because again, it had that Resident Evil feel to it. It made sense for a story or a fan story within the Resident Evil franchise, and it actually felt like you could actually, go, okay, wow, I can see this actually happening for a game or a movie. They really focused on the first one, which was really cool. A lot of flashbacks, what they were able to do to kind of make you feel like you were back in, 1. And again, with the remake coming very soon that is being worked on, I think that was a cool thing to do. And I know a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of 1, 2 and 3 and whatever else, you love. But again, for this to be a fan film, again, was it perfect? No, it has flaws. I will be the first one to admit that. But it was a lot better than I would say some of the other movies that we've gotten. That's from a Hollywood director or from a Hollywood writer or whatever. Again, I think Resident Evil deserves a lot more than what it gets. And us fans, we're trying with what we got. These guys literally pulled out all the thing, and to get the voice actors, that shows a lot of not only loyalty but love and respect for this franchise. And I wish that Hollywood would do the same thing rather than what they've done. But again, that is just my opinion. I am meaning no disrespect to these guys. They did something that was not only for, I think, what they would like to see in a game or a movie or in a series, but also for other fans like myself. And all I got to do is and say, I tip my hat off to you guys. I give my respect to you guys. And who knows? Maybe you can get more money and redo it, and make it 10 times better than what it was. You know what I mean? And be able to deliver another great, sequel to this if you want to. Make it animated. Make it, another action or whatever the case of it. Sometimes animated is better. I'll be the first one to admit that. I think that the animated movies for Resident Evil are 10 times better than the live action films. I think that everybody will agree with me on that. And again, for this being a fan film, it has good moments. It really did. I love seeing the voice actor for Chris and Jill and Wesker and Sheva and all these ones, because again, a lot of people get mad because we don't see Sheva in a lot of things, but again, she's based off in the African territory for handling that situation, and or maybe she finally came to the States. She finally got to see Chris. All these things that people have been writing in their fan theories or coming up with their own fan stories, and that's something that these guys finally did, and I thought it was cool. There was a lot of respect to all the different actors that have portrayed a character throughout the Resident Evil franchise, and I think that was cool to see. I was kind of surprised we didn't see Leon in this, in all honesty. I was really surprised, but again, that was fine. We even got to see Claire at the end, and with the weird CGI of the Nemesis and the whole of what Claire says. I'm sorry, man. That was funny. I mean, I was not expecting that. So, again, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a fan film, and I'd probably watch it again. So overall, I think it was good. Would love to see more. Would love to see improvements further along down the line. And you guys got potential, and you guys are helping keeping Resident Evil alive. So much respect. And that is my review of this. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll leave the link down to the fan film in the description, and I'll see you as always on the next one.